Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of A Handful of Hope. I am so happy and grateful to have Garrett with us today. Garrett, who's a Santa Barbara native and now New Yorker, full-time realist, a gym rat and go-getter, and wannabe millennial. Obsessed with great convos over coffee, he spends his days influencing the younger generations with his personal style, poise, and panache. A role model, pun intended, and GQ insider, he's traveled the world as a model and campaigns for Allen Edmonds. I'm going to horribly mispronounce some of these names.
No, just a bunch of stuff.
Just a bunch of stuff. A lot of brands that we might know, like Chrysler, Dodge. I can say those names.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, he laughed when he made the Silver Fox list of BuzzFeed. I remember that. Huffing Post and Out Magazine. I'm guessing hashtag Daddy is the new black. Now that he's accomplished that, he's decided to evolve his social media platform, including his Instagram TV production Undercovers, interviewing people he's fascinated with in bed. He's also a CMO of a startup apparel brand called ALPHX in New York City, former star of several TV shows, Fashion House, Unusually Thicke, and questionable indie films, The Casserole Club. His motto in life is have swimsuit, will travel. Garrett, welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks, Jesse.
Yeah, it's fun reading that because I feel like I've been able to be a presence in different parts of those times and laugh and celebrate some of those with you.
Well, we met at the gym.
Yeah.
You were my trainer.
Yeah, right at I think right when Fashion House was on, right?
Was it 24-hour fitness?
Mm-hmm. Because I was just out of college. I think that was.
I was trying to get away from being heavy than I was then because I had the booze bloat. No longer have the booze bloat because I don't drink booze. So and I remember coming into sessions with you completely hungover, and here we are so many years later, completely
completely sober and a sex symbol for a whole new generation.
I don't know about sex symbol. I'll let you say that.
No, but Garrett, I think one of the reasons I want to have you on here is because I think I've had a friendship with you now for so many years. And one of the things as a friend that's been so enjoyable to see with you is I don't know if reinvented yourself is the right word, but evolved your personal brand.
Well, it's constantly that I've been reinventing myself, and it's really about evolving. Like, what's the next thing, or and trying to find yourself in the midst of it all, trying to discover who you are and what you want and what's going to make you happiest, and there's a lot of hurdles along the way. Like I've had, the rejections, the no's, losing business partners, losing projects, things failing, and then starting over again and kind of pulling up my bootstraps and keep walking.
What keeps you pushing forward amidst the no's? Because I think that the world, we get a lot of no's anyways. And I think in the world that you're in, there's probably even more no's. And how do you keep persevering through those?
Well, it's really interesting because when I do get a rejection or a no, that propels me to work harder because I don't like no as an answer. So because I know that anything is possible, it seems like, and if I create this sense of that and create what I want and what's meaningful to me and how I can make a difference, how I can support myself financially, emotionally, mentally, physically, whatever I have to do, and I have to make that conscious choice to evolve every day with it and get better. That's all I can do.
Garrett, something I've always loved and appreciated about you, and especially observing you on social, is that you have made your brand really has evolved out of being you and being more you. So when I see posts go up of you or whatnot, or even when you're doing the influencer work, it's
Right.
very much you.
Right.
And I'm wondering, you had mentioned that before about the importance of being you. I think a lot of people, when they're thinking about going into social or they're thinking about evolving their brand, they have to be someone else. How important is it for you to be you?
Well, no, I think there's a great sense of authenticity that needs to be played out. I think that especially now, your target audience on Instagram is a millennial audience. And they can sniff out bullshit, you know, they can sniff out the untruth of it all. And if we're organic and real and authentic about our experience with the product or just in our daily life, if people can feel like they can identify with me as a person, then I've done my job right. And then I can get to inspire them to do whatever they want to do. I'm just giving them nuggets of life or nuggets of product or nuggets of things, you know. I'm giving them possible opportunities for to make yourself better. I mean, most of my Instagram is mostly about my lifestyle. It's not, you know, I do partnerships and collaborations with brands, because I think it's really important to show that what I like and what helps me go. And brands come to me, and I have to find a way that I authentically and organically like that product, and how I'm going to work that into my life. So it feels real than it feels fake, because I don't want to play the fake card. Like I don't have time for that. And there's a lot of phoniness out there, and there's a lot of people pretending to be something that they're not.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say, oh look, I fly in first class planes, and I'm in first class on planes, and I stay in a 5-star hotel, and I eat fine dining, and I have this glamorous life. And you know, life is, you know, there are moments where I get the opportunity to do those things, but and I just enjoy it for what it is.
That's cool. Right now, I was just reading the numbers this morning, and so the unemployment fallout from the coronavirus COVID right now, there's over 20 million people just in the US alone who applied for unemployment. Many of those people are going to be in the millennial generation, people who are doing tourism type jobs, restaurants, and many people are going to be looking onto social media, the internet as a digital platform to potentially launch a second career or a side hustle. For someone getting started, and somebody getting started with building their personal brand, trying to maybe have an aspiration of becoming more of an influencer type figure, what advice would you give that person who's just beginning?
Well, the first thing is find out what your story is, why you want to tell it. And if you're an expert at something, are you really an expert, or are you're pretending to be? So I think, again, is being as honest as you honesty, people can tell, again, when people are full of crap, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it's really, it's keeping that, as I said before, is keeping that authenticity, and be a storyteller. What's your experience, and how can we feel like we fit into that experience? Can we, and find some ways of identifying yourself with others?
When you talk about what's your story, can you expand on that a little bit? Because I can hear the voices in some people, and they may be thinking, well, how am I any special, or how am I any different than anybody else? How important is storytelling, and how does someone begin to extrapolate their story, like differentiate it and make it unique and special to them? Or is it something they start internally where they start appreciating it more, and then they just get comfortable sharing that?
Well, I think your story is just it's almost like your everyday life. What message are you trying to tell? I'm sorry, it says my internet. Can you still see me?
Yeah, I can see right now. You cut out a little bit there for a second.
Yeah. You know, I think that you know, what happens in your everyday life that you feel that you're experiencing, and you know, it's kind of like watching a movie. Let's just say, let's use that as an example. You know, there's a storyline. What's your storyline? What's important in your life that you can really share? So again, it's all about identifiability, is people understanding others, because we get to learn about ourselves through others and seeing through others' experience. So I often identify with certain people, because then I can go, oh, they're going through that, so am I. Like one time I actually posted something about loneliness, that I had bouts of loneliness, and it was something really real and true to me. And I got so many comments from that, like so many people identified with that. And I wanted to, you know, have, and and it's to have those conversations with people, because this is also a platform where I can have conversations, although it gets a little overwhelming because a lot of people want to talk to me and I don't have all day long to answer messages and get into full-on conversations, because then I wouldn't have time to do the stuff that's prioritize my things in my life. So, you know, but it does create a sense of dialogue that I get to have with my followers, you know, that they, you know, or even do live feeds, which I've been kind of doing on occasion more recently, just because of what's happening, that people are paying attention because they have their phones and they're a little bit bored. And so I've just been trying to inspire people to go cook, to go make things. Like I've been, I got a bunch of fabric and I decided I was going to sew masks and donate them because I know masks are really needed. So I was going to donate a bunch of masks, and then I started making some for family and friends. And then I ended up doing dog faces, because I did one for my sister's dog. So I did her Aussie dog, like in a patchwork on the front of the mask.
Yeah.
And then I sent one to a friend of mine who's a doctor in Michigan. I'm sending one to a friend of mine. So I made his Shih Tzu. And my friend texted me right after that and goes, "Oh my God," because I had posted on Instagram. He goes, "Will you make one for my dog too, or for me too, with my dog?" So I've been making all these. Here, I'll show you a picture if you can probably see it on here. Let's see. This is the dog mask I did last night. If you can see it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so awesome.
That's his pit bull. So I mean, they're pretty funny. And wait, where's the Shih Tzu? Let's see. I did the Shih Tzu. Oh, here's the Shih Tzu.
That is so cool.
So I was just kind of like, you know, I'm like, I'm going to be creative. If I'm going to take this time, I'm going to be able to do things. I've been baking a lot. I've been cooking. I made this amazing rouladen last night, German rouladen. That was kind of my mom's recipe. So and I'm doing things I never thought I could do well. So that's really surprising to me.
Talk to me, Garrett, about, because I think from what you've done in being yourself, building your brand, it's created a lot of different opportunities that you've been able to parlay into other things, like being the CMO of your startup company you have. How critical has that been in taking the time to really be authentically you, and then in so doing it leading to other opportunities?
Well, I think it's just, I'm a networker. Like, I love going out and meeting people and connecting with people and talking with people. And I'm never really afraid to do that. Maybe one time out of 10, I get a little hesitation sometimes, but when I go out and I network, I meet people and I seize the opportunities that are out there, because there are so many opportunities, but you have to go out and get it. Now it's a little different because I'm not going to all the events. I'm not doing all the things in New York as I'm doing here. I mean, I'm kind of trapped in California, which is not a bad thing. But I think that, oh God, I lost my train of thought. So I think it's parlayed into this world of oh God, will you ask the question again? I'm just
I was asking about how important that you building your brand has really led to you being able to parlay it into other opportunities, like being the CMO of your startup.
Oh, so yeah. What it's done is I'm sorry. Thank you. So
teamwork.
I know. Well, sometimes my brain, it's my ADD. God, help me.
That's right. We're in this together. It's teamwork.
Too bad you can't edit this. Yeah. So what it's done is I've had the opportunities to get involved with other brands. Like last year, I got to design a capsule collection for an Australian suit brand, which I never thought I was going to do. And I got to design 6 suits for their collection, and I created a story behind it, being a leading man. So I used Hollywood icons as my emphasis for each of the suits, calling each of the suits that person. There was Cary Grant, Montgomery Clift, there was George Papard, there was Fred Astaire, James Stewart, and Cary Grant. So I utilized the storytelling, and in that with icons that I loved when I was a kid and I'd watched old movies. So I knew about, and then last year again, with all these networking, these opportunities, one of my best friends who I met at a networking opportunity, he was the president and CEO of To Exist Underwear, and he was let go. His position was they let go of his position and let him go. And 3 days later, he called me and he said, "I have a great idea. You and I should do a brand together." And I said, "That's really funny because I had the same idea yesterday." So our idea kind of aligned at the same time, and which is really awesome, because that led to the opportunity that we're building a brand called ALPHX, which is kind of a holistic view of what it means to be a modern man in the 21st century. That's the story. And we're starting from the inside out. So we're starting with the underwear segment, and then building from there. Swimwear, and then we'll do loungewear and lifestyle wear. So it'll all revolve around redefining what it is to be an alpha male in today's society. This kind of duality of of being confident yet humble, so at the same time. So it's really exciting that it's, and there's another brand collaboration I'm doing, but I love getting my hands dirty and really being involved with the brands and understanding their philosophy and really having a relationship with them, because that, if there's an organic relationship with these brands, then I feel like I have incentive to show who they are.
How do you start to form and build those organic relationships?
How do I what?
How do you start to form or to build those organic relationships?
Hi.
Really?
Hi. Who are you?
Yeah.
And it all depends. And sometimes things like with Institchu, I was introduced to the marketing and head in the showroom in New York. And we just kind of I met with her, and then we hit it off, and then I started kind of modeling for them and doing stuff with them. So it all just worked out. It was great. And so it really is, it's knowing where the opportunity is, and doing your research, finding out who's who, getting involved, sending emails, going to events, calling people, connecting with them, sending them DMs on Instagram. I in the beginning, when I was trying to do brand collaborations, I was just DMing the brands and say, "I love your brand. I want to work with you." And then some brands would start reaching out to me, and then I ended up getting representation.
In those early days, how many would you just guess? Because I want to give people context so they stay with it. How many times do you feel like you would reach out and you would get no response or a no versus a yes?
Oh, all the time.
Good.
And there'd be a lot of the time. Well, because they don't see the messages necessarily.
Yeah.
They don't follow me, and I don't follow them. So they go into the kind of the kind of the
la la land of Instagram.
The long land of Instagram DMs.
No, I think it's so important for people to know, because I think sometimes people, they'll have an ambition to do it, and they think that it'll be easy or it'll be right away, and they don't appreciate that how many times you have to do those reach outs, how many times you have to put yourself out there, how many times you're going to get no response or a no before. But it's the one yes that really builds momentum, right?
Right. Absolutely. And so and I knew that there was an opportunity, because I was modeling, and I knew there was an opportunity to monetize off of my social media page and just kind of grow it, and in the last year, it's kind of flatlined because they changed the algorithm, and it's been harder to grow, and so on and so forth. So, but even my agency knows that. They still love, they still love working with me, and I love, being very what's the word I want to look? I'm really being transparent with them is really what I want out of it. My life really revolves around a few things. It revolves around health and wellness, fashion, overall lifestyle, and travel. So, so those are the things that are fascinating to me. So how can I'm even incorporating that into our own brand landscape for ALPHX, so, which is really exciting. And there's good storytelling to be done overall.
Garrett, what's the most meaningful experience you've had in this whole odyssey of building up your social, becoming a brand? Has there been a conversation you've had, a moment you had? What's been the most meaningful one for you where it really, you may have sat back and said, gosh, everything I went through, all the challenges, all the hardships, it was 100% worth it?
Well, I think there's been a few occasions where there's young people who have reached out who either were in the closet or were afraid to come out, and I inspired them to be, true to themselves. And
Yeah.
I always go through the thinking of what others think of you is none of my damn business. And so if you're going to live your life being concerned of what other people think, then you're going to lose. Cause I don't even make that part of my life. But there's been a few occasions where these kids, and I've been able to help these young kids kind of overcome their fears, and now they're like super happy and they're like super grateful. So that's been what has been really moving for me, at least.
I think that's such an important thing to remember, because sometimes we get into whatever it is we're pursuing and we get so focused on whatever the outcome is we're after that we may forget that just by showing up as ourselves, it may inspire and compel someone else to show up as themselves too.
Right, because it's not always about me. And like I said on my, I have my show on IGTV on the Garrett Swann page, and I was talking about I don't mind being second. I don't mind being the sidekick. Like, I don't need to always be front and center. That's there are moments of, this is about me for a moment, but it's also about the other person. So
Yeah.
and that's why I like to involve other people in my posts too. I mean, a lot of it's me because it's my experience, but there are other, like my partner, Bennett, or my fiance. So he's part of my story. And so how can we tell the story together too, that we're very happy, and there are things that we have to that we're transparent about and truthful about. So
We're almost out of time, so we'll end with this. You recently just had a birthday.
I did.
Happy birthday.
Dankeschön.
And for this next year of life for you, what is Gerrits' big wish?
I think my biggest wish is to get get ALPHX off the ground. I think this is kind of evolving into, again, this storytelling. This is everything I've done in my life up to this point. I think this is my opportunity, because I'm the CMO, so I have to create content for the brand. So I think I'm really excited about the opportunity to create that content, and really that is super authentic, super real, some incredible stories, and I'm really, that's my wish, to get that and go viral with that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone, I encourage you to rewatch this, because there is some wonderful wisdom in here, not just for trying to become a brand on social media, but just for living your life. One of the things that I appreciate so much about Garrett is that he has made his profession and his personal intersect in the sense of being authentic and just being him. And what he said about telling stories, sometimes we'll stop ourselves from even beginning because we think that we don't have what it takes to get to wherever. But everyone is always just telling a story, and stories have been how we've passed on our history. As the wise philosopher Tyrion Lannister said, it's our stories that we use to share history. It's our stories that we use to learn from one another. And if you have an aspiration during this time, especially in this time of great disruption, my goodness, don't we all have some stories to tell?
And some can be dramas, and some can be comedies.
Yeah, absolutely. If you just begin telling the story, and you never know where it could take you, whether it's going to be starting an own brand, it's going to be working with all these brands from around the world whose names I can't pronounce, or if it's going to be that you inspire someone else to just become more comfortable in their own skin. Your story is worth telling, not only for your own history, but it's a story that can impact others. And if you take anything away from what Garrett shared today, it's be you. It's be you, because that's who the world's going to be attracted to, not the other version, not the whatever. It's you. And Garrett, this is absolutely incredible, my friend. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're incredible.
Oh, thank you. And once this is all over, we'll do proper hugs and birthday celebrations.
Yes. Now it's just air kisses.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time on another edition of The Handful of Hope. Bye-bye.
Bye.